thought, I don't know about you guys, but I thought when Kendricks restructured his contract and they basically said, here's half of your 2019 salary and a signing bonus, and it kind of freed up the cap space to bring everybody back. I thought, okay, the situation is settled with Kyle Rudolph. Maybe they talk contract extension. If not, he plays out the year, and then whatever happens next offseason happens next offseason. Then the report last week from ProFootballTalk.com saying that the Vikings would still like Rudolph to restructure, and he is not open to that. And now that trades are a possibility. And then yesterday, I'm reading, as I just alluded to with Matthew Collar, at The Athletic, the top need for every NFL team with teams reporting for OTAs and rosters now seemingly for the most part set. And they get to the Minnesota Vikings, and I was surprised to see that they have the top need for the Minnesota Vikings as backup tight end. And here's what they wrote up about it. They said the Vikings have been looking to unload Kyle Rudolph to clear cap space. Rudolph is still an effective player, but with all the high salaries, the Vikings need the room. Since he will become a free agent next year, the time is right to gain a draft choice and cap space. When they finally move Rudolph, they will need to find on the O-line Y who can complement Alabama tight end Irv Smith, their second-round pick. Or an on-the-line Y, I said O-line. So they make it sound as if it's a foregone conclusion that Kyle Rudolph will not be a Viking come the 2019 NFL season.
And I was with you. Like, I remember when the contract was restructured, and it wasn't Rudolph, obviously, but then I thought, okay, that's the end of that. This is going to calm down. Kyle Rudolph's going to be a Viking, and then we'll see what happens next offseason.
Right.
He'll probably walk. But I thought that once they cleared up the cap space to get Bradbury signed, I thought, okay, there's no way he's gone. Like, they're just going to move forward. It might not be the best situation for everybody involved, but that's what it's going to be. I didn't see this necessarily coming.
So if he's going to be traded, as we are wont to do here on Score North and Purple Daily, let's get into some reckless speculation.
Nothing better.
All right.
Reckless speculation.
And if you want to join in on the reckless speculation, 651-646-8255 or tweet us at Score North. Let's go over the possibilities, okay?
Okay.
Of what you could do with Kyle Rudolph, and this will get more and more reckless as we move along here. I don't know if you guys want to throw your hat in the ring. I have 3 possibilities about what the Vikings can do if they are going to trade Kyle Rudolph.
Okay.
The first I hate, which is what they mentioned there in the paragraph, go and get a draft pick. That is a complete waste of an asset as far as I'm concerned. Right now, you're in the Kirk Cousins era. You're paying him $29. I know, roll your eyes all you want, Danny, but they paid him $29 million a year to open a 3-year window to win a Super Bowl. And if they don't do that, it is a failure, and the Kirk Cousins signing can be deemed officially a mistake and a mismanagement of this organization in one way or another.
Well, I already kind of think it's a mistake. So
Yeah,
but then it can be officially declared once these 3 years are up.
If we are recklessly speculating, I can recklessly speculate that it is a disaster.
Reckless speculation.
Fair enough. But my point is, and I've made this point time and time again, that during this time that you have Kirk Cousins, because you went in as deep as you did when you signed him to that contract, every offseason you need to maximize that offseason to win games the following season. Yep. You can't go into 2019 thinking about getting draft picks for 2020.
Sure.
That's not a smart way to go about things.
That's what teams that are in asset accumulation mode do.
Right.
They are rebuilding. They are trying to build through the draft. They're trying to give themselves as many chances in the draft to get better as possible. The Vikings aren't there right now.
And when you're Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, when your jobs are potentially on the line, if you don't perform well this season, you're probably not thinking about 2020, 2021.
Also true. I don't think they'll be around if it doesn't go well.
Right.
So that moves me to possibility number 2 when it comes to a trade of Kyle Rudolph. And I put 2 and 2 together from an article at ESPN.com where they had each beat writer talk about let me just make sure I have the article right. The offseason to-do list. This was Bill Barnwell's offseason to-do list. And he says that at the top of the Vikings to-do list, not much different from the article I referenced from The Athletic, he says, though, they need to find their number 3 wide receiver, whether it's one of the guys on this roster or whether you go out and make a trade. Or he mentions a couple guys who I find to be intriguing possibilities still on the free agent market. If you could somehow free up the money, and I guess you could. I have 4 possibilities now. I just thought of another one. You could just cut Kyle Rudolph to free up the money to sign one of these guys who I'm about to mention, Pierre Garçon and Michael Crabtree.
But if you're going to cut Kyle Rudolph, I would rather get the draft pick.
Okay.
I would rather just trade. The draft pick's not the ideal situation. I'm with you there. I don't necessarily care about building for the future here. It is a win now mode for the Vikings, but I would rather trade him and get something of value instead of just saying, okay, see you later, Kyle.
So the two options that this brings up, option 2 and option 3 in trading Kyle Rudolph, is trade him for a third wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that would be yet. I'd have to look around at some other rosters, see wide receivers who might be available in a trade for teams that need a tight end. You got to find a good fit. Or cut Kyle Rudolph and go sign someone along the lines of a Pierre Garçon or a Michael Crabtree with the money that you save on your cap. Anybody intrigued by either of those two?
I'm intrigued by it. I don't know how much either of them have left in the tank, though. That's the question I think you have to ask is, getting rid of Kyle Rudolph worth getting Pierre Garçon, who's been around forever, or Michael Crabtree, also been around forever? Can they still be serviceable number 3 wide receivers? They'll get a lot of open routes, so they won't ever be doubled because obviously Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs are part of this offense, so that's taken care of. But are they good enough to perform at that level at this point in their careers? That's the question you have to ask.
Okay, Manny?
I would much rather, if I'm going to say goodbye to Kyle Rudolph, I want to get some sort of asset in return.
All right.
And if that means, getting a future draft pick, which like Danny said is not ideal, I'll take that over I will take that over just trading him for a third wide receiver, because you're still going to be able to have options in free agency. If you trade him for a draft pick, you'll still have some options in free agency to go and get somebody to be your third wide receiver.
Okay.
Or another tight end, maybe that might be on the market. I don't know how many of those there are, but another tight end on the market that might be cheaper than what Kyle Rudolph would be in 2019.
Before I get to my fourth and most reckless possibility there is, do you guys want to throw anything in the ring as far as what to do with Kyle Rudolph right here and right now?
The only thing I would say they should not do is trade him to the New England Patriots.
Okay. All right. Because you're going to end up looking bad if you do that.
Yeah,
right.
Because they'll win another Super Bowl, and then he'll probably get paid like he wants to get paid, and he'll probably have a big year because it's the Patriots.
All right.
And I mean, rule number 1 is if Bill Belichick is interested in your player, hang up the phone.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. He's up to something. He knows.
Always.
He knows.
He's up
something.
to no good.
Yeah. He knows something. All right.
He's never been up to good.
This brings me to the fourth possibility and the most reckless of reckless speculation when it comes to where Kyle Rudolph and the Vikings situation is at right now. I was waiting for the reckless speculation. There it is.
Reckless speculation.
There's a situation in New York right now, guys.
There are a lot of situations in New York right now, Ramie. You have to be more specific.
Name the sport, and there's a situation in New York.
There's a situation in baseball. There's a situation in basketball.
True.
There's 2 situations in football.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Like New York is currently the epicenter of dysfunction.
Let's make this a little fun. Guess which situation I'm talking about.
The Giants, maybe?
No.
The Jets?
That leaves the Jets, right?
Yeah, it's the Jets.
The whole hubbub between Adam Gase and their former GM, Mike McCagnon, was over Le'Veon Bell. Gase didn't want Le'Veon Bell.
Correct.
McCagnon did.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Le'Veon Bell.
A lot of money.
Now Adam Gase is stuck with the running back who he doesn't want. And there is talk out there that they may explore the possibility of trading Le'Veon Bell. And I've done the math, ladies and gentlemen. And if you add the contracts of Kyle Rudolph and Dalvin Cook, it adds up to about the $9 million cap hit that it would be if you acquired Le'Veon Bell.
So you're saying they should trade Kyle Rudolph for Le'Veon Bell. What else are you going to have to give up? Because I do think that the market value for Le'Veon Bell is probably a little bit higher than
Dalvin
just
Cook.
An expiring.
You're giving him a young running back. You're giving him a young, cheap running back and Kyle Rudolph. And I'm pretty sure the Jets need a tight end right now in exchange for Le'Veon Bell. 651-646-8255. Tweet us at Score North if you want to tell me personally that I'm an idiot. That's at Ramie is tweeting. Ramie is tweeting.
Tag me in that tweet too, just because I want to watch it.
Yeah, me too.
At Real D Cunningham, at Manny
Manny
Hill 84.
Yep.
What do you think of my reckless speculation? If they're going to trade Kyle Rudolph,
Reckless speculation.
package him with Dalvin Cook, and go get you an all-pro running back with fresh legs who just took a year off. We hear all the time, ever since Gary Kubiak came here, and really since Kirk Cousins came here, how big a part of the game plan and of Kirk Cousins' game personally, the play action is. If you want to run play action and run it effectively, and you want a running back and a running game that teams respect in week one, that you don't have to establish and prove that people fear week one, who does that better, Dalvin Cook or Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon Bell. And the threat of Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield, too.
To catch the ball.
Mhm.
Right. That
I mean, you
almost...
can split Le'Veon Bell out wide.
That
and have him
almost...
run a route.
That almost satisfies your need for a second tight end.
Or a third wide receiver.
Or a third wide receiver.
I'm on board. Do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. Manny Hill, are you on board? I feel you're hesitant.
Well,
come on, do it.
I'm only hesitant because I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well,
But
It's reckless speculation, Manny.
I know.
We're not supposed to use our senses
I mean,
here.
if you're telling me Le'Veon Bell would end up in Viking purple, I am here for it.
You don't seem like you're here for it.
I'm totally here for it.
Not seem like you're here for it.
You don't seem as excited about this as you should be.
I would totally be excited if it was actually going to happen.
Who says it's not? I don't see why it's not going to happen. Prove me wrong.
I'd gladly take him. I would gladly take him with no hesitation.
So we would all do this.
I would.
We're all on the same page here. We would all do this. I thought there would be a fight here, and that's why there's 5 minutes left in the segment with us all agreeing.
Do you want me to take the other side? I can play along. No, they shouldn't trade for Le'Veon Bell. What if he is a cancer in the locker room? What if he just, because it's already not a great locker room because they don't trust Kirk Cousins there. What if that just builds there and this becomes an incredibly dysfunctional place?
Thank you for playing devil's advocate.
You're welcome.
I don't really buy that about Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown.
I mean, there's history in Pittsburgh with both of them doing that.
Yeah, but what's the common factor is the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger.
The Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be a more stable organization than the Minnesota Vikings. Now,
I don't think so.
Neither of them are the New York Jets in terms of lack of stability, in terms of how dysfunctional they are. But I think that the Steelers, if that's an organization that has been incredibly stable throughout their history.
Well, we're going to find out how good Ben Roethlisberger is.
He's not that good anymore. He's like 90. He's old.
I mean, the way those two guys were sent out of town, and now it's, the Connor guy, the running back,
James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster.
How much of a grasp of that locker room does Mike Tomlin still have? A lot of question marks for them.
Does it bother you that James Conner stepped in and kind of picked up right where Le'Veon Bell's left off in Pittsburgh? Maybe Le'Veon Bell's not all that good. Maybe he's not worth that money, and you're just signing yourself up for a longer commitment.
Yeah, I really don't think that's the case.
What if it is?
I think he's every bit as good as he looked in his years with the Steelers.
I don't know.
And James Conner was good, but he wasn't Le'Veon. Le'Veon Bell.
It's pretty close.
I'm amazed that people did this in a matter of a year because he sat out. Le'Veon Bell was the best running back in this league, period. Hands down, flat out. He was the best running back in this league when things were hitting on all cylinders for the Steelers. And Danny, you say that the Steelers seem like a more stable organization than the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the perception a lot of people have of them because that was the case for so many years. But look at the last few years and all the drama.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
We only talk about Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Remember the whole thing where they couldn't figure out what they were going to do for the national anthem when that whole controversy was going on?
I do remember that, yeah.
And there was a rift in the locker room about that. There are rumblings that Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell aren't the only guys who Ben Roethlisberger rubs the wrong way.
I could see that.
You have the GM coming out and saying that the rest of the roster should look at Ben Roethlisberger like a father figure.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like that's not a very functional organization. Where you look at the Vikings, and I actually think that's a really, it doesn't always add up to wins on the field, but you look at the culture and the atmosphere in the Vikings organization, this seems like a place that more times than not, guys want to be, and guys are very happy being here.